Thank you for joining us for our next episode of Checked Out, the official podcast of Lancaster Public Library. I'm Theodore.
And I'm Amanda.
And we want to thank you for following us over these last few months as we've kind of gotten this off the ground. I feel like we're in a bit more of a groove now. And
Yes.
yeah, we're kind of hitting the ground, so it's good. We have a special episode this month, so you'll only see us for a little bit, really, because later on we are interviewing an employee of ours who has been here for 50 years. She's unfortunately starting her retirement in late March of next year. But her name is Kathy Leader, and she has worked essentially every job for every department and done everything in this organization. And I know personally, at least, has always been the person I've gone to, especially in my first few years here, when I didn't know how to do something, because she's probably done it.
Kathy knows absolutely everything, and we'll miss her both for her skills and knowledge and just for her personality. Kathy's like, I don't want to call her the office mom. But she's just such a lovable person that we'll miss her dearly. She
is, and she keeps us fed. I mean, she brought in cookies today, and I've already had 3 of them, and it's about 11:30 right now. So I'll probably have a few more before the end of the day. So she puts
has promised to keep bringing in baked goods, so we'll at least still have that.
Yeah, we'll still survive around the holidays. But yeah, she's been fantastic. And she's also kind of an unsung hero of the funding of the library. She's been running our passport office for years and years and years now. And it's just an incredible amount of work on top of her other roles as the administrative manager. So to see her leave is going to be a bummer, big time. But I'm happy I got to work with her at least.
Yeah. Same.
So with all of that said, though, we do start off every episode the same way, and I'd like to know what you're reading right now, Amanda.
Reads. Okay. Well, I do have to confess that I always seem to be doing multiple books at once, and this time I am still working on The Blue Stockings, which, if you didn't listen to last month, that was my nonfiction read for last month. As we're filming, it's still December, still before Christmas, and I have dozens and dozens of Christmas movies that I like to rewatch every year. So I'm having a war with myself every time I get home in the evening of what do I want to do with my little bit of free time? Do I want to read or rewatch Christmas movies? And movies have won out a lot recently.
I mean, it only comes once a year. I get it. Yeah.
True. Yep. So working on Blue Stockings, but then I do have a new fiction read. I'm about halfway through. This is Orbital by Samantha Harvey, and it is about 6 astronauts on the International Space Station.
Okay.
And I love the way one of the book podcasters that I listen to described this, is that there isn't a whole lot going on. If you're looking for a really plot-driven book, this is not the one for you. I feel like I say this about every book that I read, but just beautiful writing. It almost reads like poetry. It's the way Samantha Harvey writes. And
that sounds fantastic.
It's just a look at the lives of these astronauts and their almost spiritual experience up in space of the little everyday things that are happening both in the space station, but then back down on the ground of, one astronaut, her mother passes away while she's up in space.
Yeah.
So wrestling with the miraculous things that they're witnessing and being a part of above us.
Yeah.
But then the very real things that are happening down on the ground.
That sounds fantastic.
I think you'd really like it.
So far where you're at, are there higher stakes elsewhere, or is it genuinely like a piece about each of these individuals?
I think the higher stakes might come in with, like, there's a typhoon that's forming back down on Earth. There's that little bit of plot, but it is mostly the character of each person and how they're individually and collectively processing what they're going through. Of they're part of this unique club that very few other people will ever know what it's truly like to have been a part of that.
Yeah, it's a childhood dream of mine that I will never accomplish, but I would love. And I'm scared of heights, so it's a dumb dream. But I would love to go up to space.
Okay, so we're representing the two sides of the Great Divide. That there seems to be the type of person that would love to go to space, and the type of person that I'm good down here on the ground. That's fine.
Yeah, no, and I get that, because I mean, but again, I said I'm scared of heights, but I love flying too. So none of it makes sense. It's fine. Yeah.
Humans are studying contradictions, right?
That's
it's
fair.
All good.
Exactly.
Okay, so what are you reading then?
So I actually just picked this up recently because, like Amanda said, I am kind of in a space right now, probably because it is around the holidays and I've already gifted a few things to myself, where I am crafting a lot more. So I do a lot of soldering projects and a lot of 3D printing, and I've been spending a lot of time doing that. So I was actually wrapping up some of the books that we talked about last time. But one of the perks of working at the public library is sometimes things are on the new book cart before they go out on the shelf. And I can put a hold on that. And this was kind of an exercise in, I've been trying to pull things off of the new shelf more frequently to avoid falling into the trappings of just reading horror, reading science fiction, things like that. Didn't quite work out this time. This book, which is called The Merge, it is by Grace Walker. It is a debut novel, is very much, I would describe it as, so far at least where I'm at, kind of similar to Never Let Me Go by Ishiguro Kazuo, who I've talked about before. He wrote Clara and the Sun. Obviously not on that level. I mean, he won a Nobel Prize for that. But the content itself, so in this book, it focuses on a few different groups of people. Some are, there's a mother and daughter, there's two brothers, there's a couple. And essentially what the merge is there's this company that is allowing you to merge your consciousness into the healthier of the two bodies.
Oh.
So the first part of the book really focuses on Lori and Amelia. So Lori is the mother. She's 65. She has Alzheimer's. Early. She still has okay short-term memory. And then and then Amelia, who is her 23-year-old daughter. Now, Lori isn't really buying into this too much, but Amelia is described as the type who's always trying to find some kind of solution. She doesn't really cope well. But the reason I say it seems like it's going to be at least similar in tone to Never Let Me Go is there are constant mentions, or at least little nuggets here and there, that something isn't quite right with all of this and with the world around them, which is exactly how you read Never Let Me Go. It's not really until the end that you get the full picture of what's happening. For instance, one of the couples, one of them is actually pregnant, and the mother talks about how she can't help herself around, seeing another pregnant person, but also understanding that that is not something to celebrate anymore. I'm not to the why yet, but it's quite interesting. And the reason why I say it's also in my wheelhouse is there's it's the aftermath of massive climate protests. There's a water shortage. Again, should have probably read the brief description prior to picking it up to try to ensure that I was reading something else. But I really like it so far.
Sometimes it's just fun to go into a book kind of blind.
Yes, exactly.
And, the cover art for that is exquisite. So
I'm not going to lie, that was also part of it. Right. It's genuinely beautiful. I also love it too because it's kind of like it's weird because I am just an American, but she is very British. And so there's a lot of, mum and right cross and stuff. And I don't know, those little things just, I don't know, they really tickle me in a certain way. So I like the verbs, the verbiage as well. So I will also say, because this is, an episode in the new year, the best way to start a new book, and I've talked about this before with Amanda, is you need some bubble bath. You need some bath salts. You need some candles. Don't drop it in the tub. That's not good. We might have to charge you for that. But any book reads like a Nobel Prize winner when you're in that state of mind. So yeah, honestly, really good so far.
I love that everyone seems to have this is the ideal way to start a new book.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's candle lit on my couch in my pajamas. That's the time that every single book is going to be.
That's probably like my second favorite.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I need the candles for sure, no matter what. But yeah, definitely so far I would recommend it. I am curious to see where she goes with it. I do feel like sometimes these kind of books that have this kind of grand concept, like this merging of two individuals, can get a little off the rails at a certain point. They can jump the shark.
Short, yeah.
So I am curious to see where she goes with it. But so far the characters are fantastically written. It's not like poetry like the book you were talking about, but she is a good writer. And yeah, I would definitely, once I put it back on the new shelf, I would definitely recommend it.
That sounds great. We'll see if you're still reading something that's like post-apocalyptic slash
I need to work on that.
Nope, that's all right. I fall into
much.
my reading niches too.
I didn't even try this time. That's the thing. I don't know. I read, some things on the back and the little blurb on the front, and I was like, oh, this might be like, I don't know, like, emotionally charged, maybe a little bit romantic or something. No, it's not at all. It's not that. So don't go into it expecting that. But yeah. So we'll see where we're at from there.
Nice.
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
Right.
So
well,
I guess...
Yeah, time to move on to Kathy's interview then?
Yeah, and it was a blast. We did it in a separate sitting. It was actually yesterday in this case. And Kathy is just a wealth of knowledge. I want to record like an oral history with her at some point as well, just because there are so many stories, so many people, so many things that have happened in this library that even when we stopped rolling, she kept talking. And I was learning more and more new things.
I mean, over the decades that she worked for LPL, she's seen it evolve drastically.
Oh, yeah. I mean, from...
like the new building being one of the many changes.
Exactly. And just seeing, like, I think she said she's worked with 11 or 12 different directors, hundreds of board members. When they added the wing onto the old building, I think you were there when she was mentioning that. Just so much knowledge. I really hope we all get a chance to tap into that before she leaves, although she'll never leave for good. So yeah, with all of that said, that's what we're going to head over to now. So thank you. I want to thank Kathy again, and thank you for watching this. Thank you for joining us for this very special interview with our longest tenured staff member here at Lancaster Public Library, and that is Kathy Leader. So Kathy Leader has been with us for over 50 years at this point, but she is starting her next journey into retirement early next year, which I don't think any of us are happy about, but it's well-deserved at this point. Kathy is currently our administrative manager, but she has worked nearly every job in this organization for every single department, and she pretty much can tell you how to do anything throughout this building at this point. She's been a person I leaned on in my 3.5 years here, and I think most people have when they've come into this organization. From our passport services, which keep our entire community, on their planes and traveling to other countries, as well as helping fund our library, to balancing cash registers and inputting all of our donor information for our lovely library lovers, to even keeping a few extra pounds on us every holiday season with her over 30 varieties of cookies at this point. I don't know what we're going to do without you, to be completely honest. But I do want to thank you for being willing to do this for us and to film this episode. And I think it's important for both myself and for our listeners to get a little insight into the 50 years of organizational knowledge that you have from your time here at LPL.
All right. Yeah. I will do my best.
Oh, I know you will. So, as you know, me and Amanda start every episode of the podcast, and we talk about what we're reading right now. So, what are you reading right now, Kathy?
Okay, so I'm not reading right now, but I did start a book a couple weeks ago. It's called The Coworker. It's by Frida McFadden. Yeah. She's a new mystery writer I've come across, and nice. I am hooked on her.
Yeah.
I forget how many I've read right now. So I'm reading that. But as you mentioned about the cookie baking, I'm cookie
Yes.
baking. I crochet. I have 4 cats. I have a daughter who still lives at home, so I'm very busy.
Very
Don't
busy.
get much reading. And when I do try to read, I read a page or 2 and fall asleep.
And I believe that because, I mean, even if you walk into Kathy's office, there are little creatures and little things that you've crocheted all over the place. So I don't know where you would find time to read too much. So I understand that.
Yeah. And another thing I read, and I have read recently, are many children's books.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
My daughter works at our Mountville branch,
Yes.
and when
And that's
new
Jen.
children's book, yes, Jen,
Yeah.
when new children's books come in, she brings them home to me
Yeah.
to read. And mostly they're about cats.
Nothing wrong with
So
that.
anyway, she keeps me supplied with children's books almost daily. So I've read, and I don't even remember any of the titles right now, but I've read quite a few in the past week or 2.
Reading is reading. That's all that
Yeah.
matters. And as long as you're enjoying
Yeah.
it, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, good. So obviously when I talk to you about this, we want to get some stories from you, some insight about the things that you've seen, the things that you've done over your time here. So the first question I had for you was, what events led you to join Lancaster Public Library over 50 years ago?
Okay, so started in my senior year at high school at McCaskey High. The library was expanding. They needed a typist. And the librarian had gone to the typing teacher and asked if she had a student that would be able to leave classes to come and assist them. So I was recommended. So I did that. And then after I graduated in 75, it was very difficult finding a secretarial position at that time.
Okay.
Most companies at that time pulled from their pools of typists that they had. They
Okay.
didn't bring in new.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I stayed at home. I helped my mother with the younger kids and did stuff for her around the house and everything. But then out of the blue one day, a volunteer from the library called me and asked me if I'd be interested in working at the downtown library. She apparently had contacted the school librarian who recommended me.
Very nice. Okay.
So I came down on a Friday, August 1st, 1975 for the interview.
Yeah.
I was interviewed by the director, the assistant director, and the circulation manager.
It's pretty
And
intimidating.
I was hired on the spot, and I was on the circulation desk 5 minutes after the interview ended. So that's where it all started.
Oh my Lord. And how long did it take you to pick up the circulation aspect of things?
I don't think it took me too
Okay.
long since I had worked at the school library
Fair.
with the
Yeah.
book cards and of course we had the old Gaylord machines then,
Yeah.
the clunkers as we called them.
I've seen those.
And I had shelved and so a lot of it really did not take long
Okay.
to learn.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just incredible that you made an impact on this person enough that they, found it appropriate, to tell this other person, hey, I've got this
Yeah.
person, Kathy. She'd be great for the position.
Yeah,
It makes sense though.
To be called by a volunteer too, I thought was
Right.
very interesting. But she
is,
was a
yeah.
former teacher at McCaskey who knew the librarian, so that's how that all happened.
That makes sense.
So yeah, so and then I was in circulation for just about 5 years.
Okay.
And the secretary to the director and administrative assistant went on maternity leave, and they needed a typist. They needed
Yeah.
someone to help pay the bills, to do payroll, to type the director's letters, and to do all counting the money, all those things. So I got pulled from circulation and was in helping them for about 3 months while the other girl was on her maternity leave. And one day the administrative assistant came out and whispered in my ear, "The job is yours if you want it." So
That's
I became
fantastic.
the secretary that I always wanted to be.
Yeah.
So
And that
was
sounds familiar because, I mean, honestly, even in my time here, it seems like if there's something that we need done, you could just ask Kathy. so that sounds about right.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
Yep. So anyway, that's how it all started.
Very nice. So In 50 years, you must have, well, I know you have worn multiple hats. Mm-hmm. What are the favorite hats you've worn? What are your favorite jobs that you've done here over that time?
Okay, so part of the secretary's job was creating brochures, flyers, which we all do on computers now, but
Yes.
back then it was done with clip art.
Yep.
So I got to design brochures and everything and have them printed. That was one of my special things I enjoyed doing. Another thing was I got pulled into the fundraising side of things
Yeah.
to assist a development director that we had hired with inputting all the donor information, everything, and I do enjoy that immensely. I still do. And so those are a couple of my favorite things. Also, all the people I work with and meet. And
Yeah, and I mean,
I have met a lot of people over the years.
a lot of people. I mean, and I'm sure a lot of them through the passport office as well. I mean, you have, usually over 1,000 appointments every year.
Yes.
You meet an incredible amount of people. And I mean, just by the nature of being here for 50 years, I can't even imagine the amount of people you worked with just here. I mean, you had a few long-term ones. We had Philip, who was a librarian here for 47 years.
Right.
But I'm sure there's even more than that.
Oh, yeah, many more. One is still my very best friend. She was a community relations manager for us. Yeah. And when she came on board, that I worked with her closely. She and I did the fundraising at that point. This was before a development director came, but we also did the brochures and the printing, and she and I worked very closely together on all of those things. So yeah,
sounds like a lot of fun.
Lots of people.
Yeah,
and as you mentioned, the passports. It's one of my most rewarding parts of my job right now because I'm meeting so many people from so many different walks of life, and
it's a fantastic service. I mean, I don't do them nearly as much as you do anymore, but at the library I worked at before here, a large part of my job was processing passports, and it is a blast. You meet some incredible people.
Yep, you sure do.
Yeah, and you get to hear about their travels, which is always fun as well. So
yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So from these 50 years, what are a few memories that really stick out from your time here? And I'm sure there's plenty.
Okay, so the one that I talk about a lot is one year we were donated some printing equipment so that I could print the brochures in-house instead of paying to send it out and everything. So one day I was up and it was in a room off of our staff room. Nobody's around.
Yep.
I'm printing. The machine that we used, you put the ink in it. There was no cover on the ink where you put the ink and everything. Well, anyway, my hair was long, and I got my hair stuck in the machine. It wrapped around the roller, and nobody was around. This was before cell phones.
Yeah, so you're stuck
there. I don't know what to do. Yeah. So luckily there was a pair of scissors on a table to the left of me, so I reached long to get the scissors. I had to cut my hair.
So do you know how much you had to take off when that happened?
I think it was about 3 or 4 inches.
Oh, that's way worse. I've heard this story before, and I did not realize it was that much hair.
Yeah,
okay.
It was. Yeah, so my hair got shorter. Yes, so that's one of my memorable things. But I have so many because I've done so many things, met so many people, and I did. When Mary Barnard was our executive director, she and I did a capital campaign. Yeah. It was the first. I'd never done fundraising before. They had brought in a consultant to work with me, but I did the entire thing myself. It was a lot of record keeping, typing, all that kind of stuff, and that taught me a lot.
Oh yeah, that's a fantastic
I learned quite a lot from that process. So that was special to me that she trusted me enough to be able to do that work.
It says a lot, really. I mean, that's a huge undertaking. I was only here at the tail end of our last big capital campaign before we moved, and just seeing the work that went into that, I can't imagine.
It's quite a lot. Yeah, and we did have a director of development, but he had left, and she decided that she and I could handle the rest of the campaign, which is why.
That's very nice.
And it was. Like I said, I learned a lot.
Sometimes the best experience is entirely circumstantial. Someone leaves and you're thrust into the role.
Yeah, right.
That's fantastic. Right. So we all have special interactions with patrons during our time here, especially if you work in a library. It really doesn't matter what position you work in, you're going to have a lot of special interactions. And I know you've had some as well. So what are a few that really stick out to you still to this day?
Okay, so one that sticks out is when I was in the circulation department. We got a phone call one Saturday. I answered the phone from a gentleman who was calling to find out what you bake a roast at.
I love that
And
so much.
and what he told us was that his wife, they had company visiting, and she took them off sightseeing, left him at home to deal with this roast in the oven, which she had preheated to 500, I think, he told me. And the house was filled with smoke, and he didn't know what it should be roasted at. So he called the library instead of calling the fire department, I guess. But I just
love
thought
that he trusted us that much.
Yeah,
that's
it was
great. That's
awesome
great.
that someone
Yeah.
would think to call the library to ask that question. So that has always stuck with me. It's one of my favorite things to tell.
So did you get him to where he needed to be?
Yes.
Did you? Okay.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Oh, and I'm sure his family was happy.
He never got back to us to let me know how it turned out, but
So what did you tell him to put the oven to? Do you remember? By chance?
350
Exactly. Yep. Okay.
is where it should be set.
It's so funny. It reminds me of when, my dad tries to cook. He can grill. I think there's a lot of guys like that. But you put him in a kitchen and you're going to have to walk him through it. It's not going to go well.
Yeah. But like I said, his first statement that the house was filled with smoke.
My Lord. So what are some other ones you have?
Gosh, there's so many. Just working with all the different staff members I've worked with, the directors. I think I'm on director 10 or 11 right now. I've lost count.
Wow. It makes sense. But yeah.
So, learning and teaching them every time when they came on, you had, give them some training too, so they get the feel for things and stuff. And but just all the different staff I've worked with and people I've met, they are very special to me.
Well, and you saying that makes me want to go a little bit off of the questions that we talked about a little bit, and it makes me want to ask, why Lancaster Public Library for 50 years? There had to be events throughout these last few decades that really made you fall in love with this organization. So why? I'm just curious. Because I love it here too.
I love what we do. I love the services that we provide. I also worked a lot with the Friends Group and all their events that they did to help the library, which
fantastic.
And they long time ago, they used to do what was called Beaux-Art balls. They did them in the old library. We held them, I think they did 2 or 3 around the holidays. They would hold these huge balls on the main floor of the library.
Yeah.
And working with them on that was, I worked very closely with the Friends on all their things, the book sales, everything. So but just seeing all the volunteers and people who come to support this organization, it is just very rewarding.
I agree. It makes the job worth it. It's not something that I thought about before starting here, because I worked in a smaller library prior to this, and so it's not as active with the community like that. But when I came here and saw how active our friends groups are, how active the Bling group is for all of our jewelry sales.
Right.
Our bookstore, which is fully volunteer run, it kind of blows my mind the amount of people who come in and out of this building to help us serve this entire community. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. It makes it worth it every day.
Yeah, and talking about the Beaux-Art ball reminds me of in the old building, sort of on the in the middle of the floor, there was a stairwell that went downstairs.
I heard about that, but I never got to see it.
Yeah, there was a stairwell. It was a very narrow stairwell. You could only go up or down. You could not have 2 people going up and down at the same time.
Okay.
But for the Beaux-Arts ball, they covered it with cloth and everything, and they had a big sleigh they brought in and sat on top of the wall that went around the stairwell. But anyway, then a few years later, we did a renovation. They decided to close that stairwell off and tiled the floor in and everything. And I still remember, I was in the circulation department at that time. I still remember people coming and looking for that stairwell. They had no idea how to go downstairs because that was the only way to go down before.
It's funny you say that because I was still getting asked that right before we moved. It's almost, like, we'd have people come in who came in years and years ago and would ask about that stairwell, and I genuinely usually didn't know what they were talking about myself. Yeah.
Yeah. That was, it was funny.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Looking for that stairwell. And everything. But yeah, like I said, there are so many things that I've done over the years. I can't even think of all of them, but I became very dedicated to this place. My heart and soul is here. It's my second home.
Yep.
My daughter, when she was born, she spent many days here at the library with me. She'd sleep under my desk as a baby. She went to all events. We used to do an ice cream festival.
Okay.
The library was the library system at that time.
Yes.
And as part of that, the Turkey Hill came to us. We did ice cream festival. I think it was for 10 years. And I was in charge of getting all the volunteers for the event, which amounted to about 450 volunteers. Ooh. So another big event with a lot of people coming out to support us. But my daughter was heavily involved with it. Yeah. And as she grew up, she became more and more interested in the library. She became a volunteer. She helped us with a DVD project that we had in the circulation department as a volunteer. And then I think between her junior and senior years in high school, they asked her to fill in a substitute for crate delivery for 2 weeks over the holidays when our crate sorter was not available. And that's where her story began. And then a few months later, when she graduated, she applied for a circulation position and got it here. And as it turned out, I was her boss for a few years, both here and at home. And now now she is solely a library assistant at Mountville, at our Mountville branch, and she does children's programming, crafting, and everything. And so she's following in my footsteps, which I think is cool.
Yeah, it is. And Jen herself has been with the organization quite a long time.
16
years. Yeah, I mean, so even there.
Actually, Monday would have been 16 years.
16 years, yeah. So, I mean,
she's on her
she
way.
really is following. Yeah, I was going to say, she can hit 50. She can hit 50.
Yeah.
So I have to ask too, it's rare to find a person in almost any field who sticks with the same organization their entire career. So if you were talking to a younger person who's just starting out, what advice would you give them when they're picking a career, when they're picking a second home, like you said, with their job?
I would say pick something that you love to do. Yeah. And for me, I did not start out being the secretary that I wanted to be, but I became that. So I stuck with it, was determined that that's what I was going to do. And to have variety. Every day here is different. Even now, after 50 years, something new always comes across my desk. Yeah. And that just makes it more and more exciting. Plus, like I said, dedication. Yeah. If you really love what you're doing. Yeah.
And I think we're lucky here. I mean, again, I haven't been here for nearly as long as you, but in general, we are appreciated, by the community, by the rest of the staff. Mm-hmm. It's just a nice place to work. And I'm sure most libraries are like that. I just feel like it attracts a certain type of person. Right. And it's fantastic. Right. Is there anything else that you want to talk about, Kathy? Anything else? Is there a story sticking out in your head that you need to get on record?
I really can't think of anything. I just want to thank the library, the organization, the staff, everyone for allowing me to be here for 50 years. I mean, it is very rare. Yeah. And I am so appreciative of it. over the years, we've had a lot of funding cuts, and a lot of staff lost their positions due to that. And I was one of the lucky ones to be kept on, and I'm going to get teary, that is very special to me that I was allowed to stay here for that long. And as I said, I love what I do. So.
Well, and we needed you here. I mean, I know even just in the time that I've been here, how important you are for new people. I mean, when I don't know the answer to a question, I'm going to go ask Kathy, because there's a very good chance, even if it's in a completely different department, that you know it.
And most of the time I do.
No, exactly. And it's so important to have people like that around. That kind of organizational knowledge, you can't get that overnight. It comes, with 30, 40, 50 years of experience. And that's what's always so hard when, the next generation has to come in. Sometimes a lot of organizations don't have those people there anymore. We've been lucky enough to have you this entire time, and I'm thrilled myself that I got to work with you. I know we still have a few more months. It's not over yet.
I'm not going away.
You're not, and I know I can call you if I need something.
I still have to bring in those baked goods,
You do, exactly, because we're going to be expecting it. I think we're expecting them tomorrow, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
But I do just want to say I really appreciate you doing this, but more so I appreciate the work that you've done for this community and this library.
Much.
And I'm really thrilled I got to work with you and got to spend this time with you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Kathy. And thank you for joining us for this interview.
Thank you again to Kathy for joining us for that interview. I can't wait to hear all of it because I wasn't present for the original recording, so I'll have to listen to it in the episode.
We're still on a budget. We only have 2 mics right now. So when we do interviews, it's
like rock, paper, scissors for the interview.
Exactly. So in the future, we'll get a few more microphones. We need an input that actually has more inputs as well. So we'll get to it eventually.
We're working our way up, right?
Exactly.
This is
starting small.
Little pet project. So
exactly. But thank you to Kathy. It's just incredible. Just so much that she has to say, so many fun stories, and just such a nice person. I hope to be like Kathy as I move forward in my career. I hope that one day I've had 50 years in the library and can look back on all of it. I think it's a good thing for a lot of people to strive for, even if they work somewhere else. Just being like she is just, it's such a good role model. And she's just...
Hearing how she advocated for certain things that she felt were important to the library, but also being so flexible as things changed over the years, as they do in any profession, but libraries especially. She saw the transition from card catalogs to computers.
And rolled with it.
Yeah.
And it is incredible. And she's always, one thing that, that kept coming up in the interview was she is so focused on and appreciative of all of the volunteers. She brought that up multiple times because she used to work with them a lot more before we had a dedicated person in that position. And it always blew her mind when she was working on larger projects, how many people from the community would come out and help with these things. And it's what she said kind of, because I asked her why 50 years at LPL, and that was where she went with it. It was about the volunteers. And that's just, it kind of goes to show why so many people get sucked into staying with nonprofits, even in a world where you could go off and maybe make more money in a private industry, but it's really all about all the community aspects. And that's why it's so much fun. That's why it's so nice. And she really embodies that.
Seeing the difference that your institution makes, that it's so tangible every day.
Exactly.
And that, volunteers are the unsung heroes of libraries. That 100%. They keep things moving in ways that, an average patron might not ever see their work in progress, but
it's always happening.
Yeah. You're pulling the books off the shelves that a volunteer put away or repaired or...
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing too. It's like, it's the shelving, it's the repairing. Those aren't things that we do. We do when people are on vacation or we need to do it. We need extra hands, but a lot of our volunteers do that for us, and it's just so nice. So again, thanks to Kathy. Thanks to you for watching.
Make sure that you check back in to Checked Out next month.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.